Oh man, I'm still just trying to catch up, but we finally made it to the Datamine video. We had a huge patch on Tuesday, which brought forth all of the cards that are coming in May, and I cannot wait to dive into them with you guys. I do have one quick request though. I've been getting comments lately, and I've kind of actually been noticing this myself, that there is, when I talk, a high-pitched like ring or some buzzing happening. I've kind of finagled some stuff around to hopefully fix it, but if it's still there, please let me know. I've always heard this kind of buzz, and it kind of drives me insane because I'm trying to figure out where the interference comes from. But as you can imagine, I have so many things in here that it potentially could be. I have an AC unit running because my office tends to run like, I don't know, 10 degrees hotter than the rest of my house. I also have the fish tank, which I don't know what that does when it comes to audio effects. And then my entire desk is magnetic as well, and I have wires running everywhere. So I'm trying to figure it out, but let me know. If it's an issue, please let me know. I think I maybe have at least lessened the noise that it's making, but hopefully it's not, driving anybody crazy. But either way, thanks. Let me know if you do hear that. But we got this huge patch. Let's dive in there and let's take a look at it. So we got 8 new cards that came along with this patch. 4 of them are in the Spotlight caches: Surge, Prodigy, Elixir, and Zorn. And we'll talk about them when we look at those weeks. And 4 other ones are not actually included in Spotlight caches. I'm assuming that Esme Cuckoo is the first one we're going to discuss, is the season pass card. That is just my assumption. I could be wrong. I actually can't really find an indicator of who it is, but I imagine it's Esme Cuckoo. Hey guys, Future Day here. Esme is in fact the season pass card. I just can't read. It's clearly written on her page that she's the season pass card. Just want to clarify that. And then we'll also have Kid Omega, Hellion, and Mercury are also new cards in the Datamine. So to begin with, we're going to talk about Esme. She is a 3/4. On reveal, copy a card from your deck into your hand, set its cost to 3 and power to 4. I think she's a really, really interesting card, primarily because we know how good Anti-Venom is. Anti-Venom found a really good home, especially in stuff like Affliction, or even decks out there that run Luke Cage. And just realizing that if you make something 0/0 and you're running Luke Cage and it gets its power back anyway, who cares? So being able to take cards, set them to a 3 cost, 4 power. I mean, I don't even need to, name the examples where this is just absolutely gross. Iron Man would be huge. I'm thinking of stuff like Onslaught would be very interesting as well. I'm also curious how this is going to work in Surfer. So if it sets its cost to 3, would then Surfer then buff that card? I don't know. There's some interesting mechanics there. I do think she sounds like an interesting card just based on the fact that we know that Anti-Venom worked out very, very well. So if you could find the right deck where, it being a 3 cost 4 power is really good for, especially in ongoing decks, there seems like a bunch of cards that could really benefit. I think that Esme is going to be honestly a really, really interesting card. It could be exceptionally strong. Moving on to the next one, we've got Kid Omega, which I'm weirdly excited about. I do kind of like Kid Omega from a character standpoint, but he is a 2/2. Activate, destroy the next card you play this turn to gain its power. Just sounds, honestly, the first place that I go is Nimrod. I mean, a Nimrod package, you throw out Kid Omega, you then destroy Nimrod, or you play it, or I mean, even Deadpool. I mean, maybe you're just, making bigger and bigger Deadpools as it goes on, and then, on turn, 5, you finally, throw down Deadpool. It's a giant one. Kid Omega gets bigger. You get the Deadpool back in to play on turn 6. I think he's going to be a very cool card in Destroy. I think that is definitely a package. There was other ones where I was like, well, what kind of cards do you want to destroy? And I immediately went to Hood, which just doesn't necessarily work, because I mean, you don't want that -3 from Hood. But I mean, overall, maybe it's just, cards that you want the effect from, but you don't necessarily want to fill up the board. Another one is maybe his interactions with Firehair could be really cool. You throw down Kid Omega on turn 2. What is Firehair? 2? I think she's a 2 cost. So you throw down Firehair on turn 3 with a 1 cost on the Kid Omega, activates him, maybe like something like Yondu or whatever, and you get to be able to trigger it twice. I do kind of like him. I think he's going to be a really cool card. So I'm kind of looking forward to see what we can kind of cook up to kind of play him in, because I think he looks like he's gonna be a lot of fun. All right, the next card on the list is Hellion. He is a 5/8 on reveal. Next turn, you can move cards to this location. So when the first time I saw this card, which was exceptionally late at like 11:30, sitting in my hotel room on my phone screen, at that point in time, I was like, this is just Cloak, which is wrong. bad pass there. That is not. You need to learn how to read, because next turn you can move cards to this location, so your opponent actually doesn't get to move their cards as well. His stat lines, I mean, it's not bad. I mean, a 5/8 is not a terrible card. There are much better, you know, stat lines for, you know, a 5-cost card. But I think the thing is that it does allow you to move. I'm curious if there's room for this to fit into a lot of the move packages. I mean, I guess if you can throw it down on turn 5 and you already have Human Torch and your multiple man or your vulture already out there, but I mean, also you're drawing all those into that lane. Maybe an interesting thing would be like pairing him with a Hercules. I don't know. I'm just trying to imagine it, because if you're bringing all those big, your daggers, your Human Torches, everything to that one lane with Hellion, I mean, that's playing real tall in that one lane. So you're going to want to be able to pull them out, at least some of them out, so you're not just, you know, have all your power stacked in one lane. But I think in the other thing with Hellion is that there was this belief with Madam Web before she came out that people are like, she's going to revolutionize everything. It's going to give you the ability to have some uncertainty with, oh, what's moving, where are think cards going, and everyone's going to want Madam Web in their deck because you're going to be able to place your cards from one lane to another, and no one's ever going to be able to guess where your power's at. And I don't think that ever really happened with Madam Web. We didn't see her utilized in that way outside of move. And I think a few people that I saw talk about Hellion kind of mentioned that, of like the uncertainty of being able to move your cards around, who you moving, who you not moving. And I just, yes, that is a factor. I just don't think that is not a reason to include him in the deck, unfortunately. I don't see him being played that way because Madam Web is a lot cheaper and we don't see her utilized in that capacity either. I do think he's going to be an interesting card and move. I'm curious how we're actually attaining him. That's like I was saying, one of these, I think it's Esme is probably the season pass card, and the others will more than likely be in events. Fingers crossed. Maybe these are all coming back in another iteration of Sanctum Showdown where we get 3 cards. Could be really interesting. But overall, that's Hellion. Let's move on to the last one. Okay, we got Mercury. She's a 2/2. You can move this once. Ongoing, enemy cards here can't move. My immediate, which I think everyone's immediate, just kind of jump on this card was Cannonball. You move her to a lane, you cannonball that lane, their card cannot move out of it. That card, it's dead, you know? I think that is a fantastic use of this card. That's really kind of the primary one that I saw, because we don't really see a lot of tech cards specifically put in the decks to combat specific archetypes. I fell for this trap with Scream, and I'm gonna, be completely honest. If you go back and look at my Scream video from last fall, I was, be like, oh man, move is gonna be such a problem. I'm gonna get Scream essentially because, the move package is gonna be so busted. I'm just gonna include it as a tech card. We very rarely see tech cards that specifically are designed to stop an entire archetype outside of Luke Cage. He is the exception. But in my mind at that time, I was like, what month was that? I think it was maybe October, where we were going into it. We had a lot of really strong move cards in there. I think that's when Aranya came out, maybe Madam Web. Was that the same month? And I was like, oh, Scream's gonna be a perfect counter to move. We never did that. You don't put Scream into your deck to just counter move unless that archetype is, dominating, and we never really saw that. So in my mind, I mean, I'm not going to play Mercury to try and counter move decks. I mean, at one point in time with move bounce being a really strong competitive deck at the top of the meta in Infinite, I can maybe see someone being like, okay, I'm sick of this deck, I'm just going to include this. But I think that she's going to have, you're going to use her more offensively with stuff like Cannonball, which I think is kind of interesting for her. I'm really curious to see what other interactions we can kind of come up with outside of Cannonball, or things that come along down the pipeline. And very interesting card. But yeah, right now the one thing that's kind of sticking in my mind is Cannonball, or the other one is Professor X. So you have Professor X in a lane, you have Mercury in another. It prevents anyone from moving anything into it to just potentially even lock it down more, I suppose would be an interesting interaction there. But yeah, Mercury is definitely an interesting card. But that is all the new ones. Let's just jump on into the Spotlight caches. So we didn't see any significant changes to any of the previous cards outside of, I think Khonshu got bumped up 1 power, but it's not really even worth making a slide about him in that case. So we're going to dive in. We've got the first week here. Wow, on May 6th. That's a late start to a season. On the first week, May 6th through May 13th, we've got Surge, Hope Summers, Emperor Hulkling. Surge is a 2/2 on reveal. Give the top card of your deck -1 cost and +1 power. After you play it, repeat this ability. So I mean, essentially, that's really, really interesting. I mean, essentially, she's a 2/4. You have to play those cards though to see that addition. But I mean, it's also a 0/4 if you're gonna play those cards, right? I mean, essentially, because you're taking away 1 cost for each of the cards that you play. And yeah, I mean, technically, if you play both of those cards, I mean, she's a 0/4. That's not too bad. I kind of really like that. Plus, that's really interesting for ramp. I mean, we've seen with the ability of Airshim being able to play cards out just 1 turn earlier, how strong that is. Surge is a really, really interesting ramp option. I think the difference with Airshim, though, is you're not restricted to that 1 card. Or I guess 2 cards, whatever it is. Because I mean, this one, you're going to want to play whatever you draw out early. That way you can receive that benefit again on another card. Yeah, really, really cool. I don't know. Is she better than something like Luna Snow where you just get +1 energy anyway? The +1 power is nice. I mean, it does give additionally +1 power. Also on like things that duplicate on reveals, like the locations, or I mean, not necessarily like Wong's probably not worth it, but if it is Wong, you get -2 +2. That's kind of an interesting interaction. So I think she sounds good. I do. I'm really curious how she's going to be compared to some of the other ramp cards, but I think given that +1 power as well does make her very interesting, especially on a turn 2 play. I do like it. I do like it. I think she's an exceptionally cool card. We'll see. Well, honestly, I think the big thing is how clunky is that going to be with how quickly you can actually play that next card to receive that benefit twice. And I think that's going to be the big thing, is like, it's going to want to be in a deck where it's low cost. God, maybe something like the Havoc decks where you have all small low cost cards, and then you can additionally get another, I mean, essentially make things cheaper to offset the Havoc eating away at your energy. I don't know, really like it. I think Surge is actually a really cool card. Really kind of excited to see what she kind of does in a ramp deck. But yeah, she's being joined by, which ironically, Hope Summers, which is already I mean, she's an okay. I think Hope Summers has been a little bit creeped out, but she still does see some play. Another ramp package, and then Emperor Hulkling is, I don't honestly know. Do people like Emperor Hulkling? Every once in a while I see someone with Emperor Hulkling deck and they're like, this is why you want Emperor Hulkling, but to me he just either way, interesting week. Let's move on. All right, we got week 2, May 13th through May 20th. We've got Prodigy being joined by Silver Sable and Frigga. And I know that I don't talk a whole lot in this specific video about how I'm going to be using my resources, but Silver Sable and Frigga, I feel like this is a pretty strong week in my opinion. I know Silver Sable has fallen off a little bit since she got nerfed, but she's still extremely strong card in Affliction, and just overall a really, really good 1-cost card. And I think Frigga just kind of blew everyone away with how often she's going to be played. I think when she came out, this was one of those cards when she came out, everyone was like, yeah, we're not going to use that. And then she just keeps popping up over and over again in top meta decks. And I think this is a fantastic week, probably for anyone to chase after. But we're not talking about them. We're talking about Prodigy, who's a 3/4 on reveal. If this is in the back row, copy the text of the card in the front row. I'm kind of excited. I need to see how he actually works. I imagine that he's copying the card directly in front of him. So if you have 2 cards in the lane, you play the first one, you play the second. If he's the 3rd card, I imagine he's copying the card in the 1st card slot. And if he's the 4th card, he's copying the card in the 2nd card slot, is my assumption. Yeah, in front of it. I'm a dummy. It says specifically right there, copy the text of the card in front of it. So it is. He's copying the card directly in front of him, which just kind of goes back to, and you know, we kind of talked about this when I was on the Snap Judgment podcast. It's adding this complexity to the game of not only are you going to have to be aware of how you're playing your cards and locations, you're also going to have to be very aware of how you're stacking your cards now with the front row, back row interactions. Because there may be a card in the 1st slot that you don't want to copy with Prodigy, you want him on the 2nd, but you don't have another card to play with him in front of him to make sure that you're copying that 2nd card slot. But I think it's going to add some sort of complexity to it, which I really, really like. Also, he could be an exceptionally like strong card, especially if he's copying on reveals, he's copying ongoings. I'm imagining, just kind of picturing in my mind, especially with like some anti-venom shenanigans, or the season pass card that makes things 3/4. You can get out an early Iron Man, an early Onslaught, an early anything, and then you could actually Prodigy behind them and copy their effects. Could be pretty good. Could be pretty good. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to get my hands on Prodigy. I'm excited to just kind of play around with how he actually works, what decks he's going to fit into, because in my mind, I mean, he's an on reveal, but he's going to be kind of like Mystique, where I feel like even though Mystique is an on reveal, she's probably one of the best cards in ongoing. So I'm actually kind of excited to play around with Prodigy. All right, we got week 3, May 20th through May 27th. We've got Elixir being joined by Erishim and Malekith. What a strong week. I mean, this, if you need Erishim, here he is. Malekith is also just kind of okay, but Erishim, I feel like, is that card that everyone needs to have in their collection. Once again, new players, this is the card that you want to chase after. But let's talk about Elixir. 1/1, activate. The next time one of your cards is destroyed this turn, revive it here. A lot of activate destroy interactions going on, especially if you're pairing this guy up with Kid Omega. Very interesting. Or even on top of it, if you're trying to fill your board up with Nimrods, I mean, you play a Nimrod on top of Kid Omega, makes Nimrods everywhere else, and then you Elixir activate it, bring it back. Very, very interesting. Or even stuff like, you know, being able to play Venom. Maybe you eat up, maybe you play your Venom down on like a cheap death, and then you activate Elixir after that, bring your death back. Or there's so many cool things that Elixir could probably go into. Or stuff like maybe Misery. Maybe you use Misery to eat something up, activates their on reveal, you ping Elixir, bring that card back so that you're not losing the power somewhere else. I think that he has a lot of interesting interactions. Once again, Firehair is probably someone to bring up. You could potentially, which that's the thing, is revive here. I don't remember the next time one of your cards is destroyed this turn, revive it here, if they actually activate again. I don't think though. I don't think they activate again. But that would be busted. There's no way, right? So you have a card out there. Let's say you Misery it. So you play it once, it activates. You Misery it, it activates again. And then if you have Firehair on the board as well, activates the third time. And then if you Elixir, there's no way that on reveal happens again. Right? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see how that turns out, because I mean, is Hela, does she revive them? I don't think she's classified as reviving, because theirs go off when Hela summons them. But we'll see. Elixir's a very, very interesting card. He's a 1/1, which to me just seems like you could probably fit him into a lot of things that have some very interesting mechanics. So kind of looking forward to see kind of what we kind of cook up with Elixir. Okay, we got the last week. We've got May 27th through June 3rd. We've got Zorn being joined by Ajax and Scream. What a powerhouse of a week in Ajax and Scream. Both of them are pivotal pieces to their own archetype. Scream a little bit more so than Ajax, but not by much. But we're talking about Zorn here, who's a 2/3. After any 3 or 4 cost card is played here, move it to another location. And I'm honestly just kind of struggling where he fits in. I mean, yes, he would work with stuff like Vulture. I mean, that's kind of an interesting card to play with. Or is he more control style? Is it more to prevent your opponent from playing in that lane? I mean, he would have been really good in Sanctum. Play him down if you have a pretty good idea where the turn 3 essentially buffed up lane is going to be, to make sure that they can't play 3 cost there. Is interesting in Sanctum Showdown. But I'm kind of struggling for really where this guy really has a home. I mean, you could, play him, I guess, in a control style deck to make sure that people can't play their cards in a lane, which is kind of interesting. But I mean, the fact that it's restricted to 3 or 4 costs, they can only play 1, 2s, 5s, and 6s. I mean, this would be detrimental to Silver Surfer. I will say that. But I don't know. It's very, very interesting. Just let me know. Let me know down below. What's your thoughts on Zorn? Am I missing something? Am I missing where he's fitting in, what his value brings to it? Because right now I'm really, really blanking on where he actually has a home. But either way, he may actually be, I may be right with him not really fitting in anywhere, because Ajax and Scream are such powerhouses anyway, that they're just kind of leveling it out. But that's the spotlight caches. Let's do a quick run through of the bundles. Okay, I want to keep this short and sweet, so let's blow through this pretty quickly. On May 6th through 20th, we have actually a Cyclops Captain Krakoa variant, which I kind of dig. I do actually really like the Krakoa era of the X-Men. For $15, for 750 credits, 1,500 gold. Yeah, for 15 bucks, it's not bad. I do, like I said, I do actually really like Captain Krakoa. So very interesting bundle. Value, honestly, is not terrible. Next one, we got Lethal Allure. We got Athena, 9,000 collector's tokens, 3,000 gold for 100 bucks. I mean, if you got $100 burning a hole in your pocket and you really want Athena, I mean, it's not bad value. You get Athena and 9,000 collector's tokens to get additional Series 5 and a Series 4. So that's not terrible. I mean, still 100 bucks though. We've got Stormcaster Supreme. We've got a Storm variant and 4,000 credits with no price on it so far. Next one is Ethereal Architect. We got May 8th through May 13th. We've got Cersei, 3,000 tokens, 3,000 credits for 5,000 gold. This is in that same vein of the Anti-Venom bundle. Very, very interesting thing to go for. I mean, Cersei is not necessarily a widely used card, but she still is. I think she's still Series 5. Yep, still Series 5. And you get the 3,000 collector's tokens. I myself just pulled Cersei in the random Series 4, Series 5 cards in Sanctum Showdown, so that is extremely detrimental. I'm gonna have to really decide whether I want this bundle or not, but unfortunately I'm probably gonna lean towards not, since I do own Cersei. If you don't, great bundle. I potentially would say save up your gold for that. Unless you have zero interest in Cersei, then it's probably not worth it. Next one, we've got a Phoenix Force bundle for $15, which ironically Phoenix Force was the other card that I got out of Sanctum Showdown. So I mean, honestly, it's a Series 4 card for 15 bucks, 1,000 credits, 1,500 gold. Really great value. If you want Phoenix Force, this is probably a really good bundle to get for, you know, under 10 to $15 is generally where I like to float. Probably a really decent bundle to get. Next one, we've got Shuffling Sharpshooter. We've got Bullseye and 3,000 tokens, 2,500 gold. No price on this yet, but I imagine this is a $50 bundle. Would be my guess, is a $50 bundle for Bullseye, which has, you know, found his own little happy little place in the meta. So if you actually missed out on Bullseye and you've got $50 burning a hole in your pocket, I'm guessing probably not a bad bundle to chase after. Next one is a Radiated Icon. We've got a Hazmat bundle, 1,200 gold for 10 bucks. Pretty standard bundle for Hazmat. She is in fact Series 3 though, so is what it is. Next one, okay, we got May 16th through May 24th, which is kind of wild. We've got these 2 weeks in a row. I think they realized that we were more than happy to spend the gold on these, and I imagine they probably saw that, so they're just going to keep throwing them at us. We've got Diamondback already for 8,000 credits for 5,000 gold. So you get Diamondback, 8,000 credits. The currency value is not, it's kind of, but the fact is that you get Series 5 Diamondback, who's a relatively new card, who probably will not be dropping for a while. Very, very, very interesting bundle to pick up if you did not get Diamondback. If you did get Diamondback, don't do it. As always, if you have the card, probably not worth it, because the currency value is not there on this one. Next one is we've got Tempest Maiden for $15. We've got an Arrow variant for 750 credits, 1,500 gold for 15 bucks. The currency value on this one is par for the course. This is not bad. Following one, we've got Otaku Outlaw. We've got Gwenpool. Damn, another Series 5 card. They're just throwing these out here. Gwenpool, 2,500 collector's tokens, which is what an odd number. What an absolutely odd number. Does not have a price on this, but I'm guessing this is that 30 to 35 range with the 2,500 tokens is my guess. I'm gonna lean, yeah, probably 30 to 35, which if that's the case for a Series 5 card like Gwenpool, who still does see some play randomly, is not bad. So if you really, really are missing Gwenpool, you want her in some of your decks, definitely a bundle to keep an eye out for. Next one, we've got Feisty Fireworks. We've got a Jubilee variant, 1,200 gold for $10. Probably not the best. The currency value on this one is just eh. Okay, we've got Squirrel Senpai. It's a $20 bundle for a Squirrel Girl, 2,500 gold. Not great. Not fantastic. I may actually, I've been wanting, this is weird. This is a weird thing. I want a Squirrel Girl variant that the squirrel changes as well. The tokens essentially has the variant as well. I think the only one I know of is the zombies. But if this one does have that, I may lean towards it. I don't know. Probably not. It's $20 bundle. Kind of pricey for what you're getting, so maybe not, but I am. I'm on the lookout for a Squirrel Girl variant that changes the squirrels as well. Next one on May 28th through June 3rd, we've got Marvel Boy and 8,000 tokens for no price. So that's a Series 5 with 8. I wonder if this is a 5,000 gold bundle. That's the same. I mean, that's same package with Diamondback. If this is a 5,000 gold bundle and you do not have Marvel Boy, which I'm biased, I'm exceptionally biased as someone that really loves Zoo, I would do this. I personally would do this, but I love Marvel Boy. I mean, Marvel Boy is one of my favorite cards. I love playing Zoo. Zoo is my guilty pleasure. I know it's boring AF sometimes to play, but if I'm just sitting there and I'm watching TV doing something else where I don't want to give the game my full attention, Zoo is definitely what I'm playing. And I mean, honestly, if this is 5,000 gold and you don't have Marvel Boy, I would dive all over that. But once again, I'm biased. Okay, that is the patch in Datamine. Honestly, I think I'm still excited for April the most. March is looking pretty good. April is still looking fire. And then May's not looking terrible. It's just, it does not have the holy crap they made that a card that we have in April. And I think the other thing is that I think there were some high expectations that some of the April cards were going to get adjusted, kind of like the March ones did in this data mine, but they did not. If anything, Khonshu got a bump up in power, and I think he was the only card that, I'm not gonna say didn't get changed because they had a lot of textual changes, but yeah, they got adjusted somehow. So April, I mean, in my opinion, April's still looking really strong. I still think April's probably the month that's looking the strongest right now. But either I'm excited. We have a lot of cool things coming down the pipeline. Always optimistic to see what's coming. And I hope you guys are as well. Let me know down in the comments. What's your month that you think is going to be the strongest right now? Is it April? Are you agreeing with me on that one? Maybe April's not for you and you really like some of the packages that are coming in May. But overall, let me know who you're looking for and then who you think is going to be the strongest out of these new cards as well. Thanks as always for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. It helps out so much. Hit that subscribe button if you have not done so already. I'm chasing after that 3K sub mark. And I hope you guys all have a fantastic day. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Check you later.